My question, is it a question? I don't know, but it revolves around living from this place and in this place.
Yeah.
And specifically about noticing, what I have found in the last few years is it seems to be a subtle noticing. At least there's there's times when it feels like a watching kind of back here, like something or somebody's watching, and sometimes I don't know if that's my mind or ego or whatever, but as an example, when things are like you've talked, and like when things are swinging from one direction to another, and maybe something and something happens that evokes a reaction. There's times I can actually see that I can see that.
I see.
And I actually have learned to just allow whatever that brings. And I recognize that's from my kind of a normal living time. But what I'm talking about is, first of all, I just slightly back up. I was, I think, fortunate in the sense that as a young child, I started to have some experiences, some of them in a church similar to this, we'll say. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it, really. But I knew I was kind of hooked in a sense, it was like, I felt kind of lucky in that there really wasn't a question. Other people would wonder about, God or this or that. And I just kind of knew it was something. It wasn't really what the adults were talking about, but I knew it was something.
Yeah.
And of course, I spent about 30 years searching for what that is. And when I finally kind of gave up on that in a sense, or just, kind of thought, well, I'm not going to find it in books, or I'm not going to find it necessarily. And then, of course, that's when it just accidentally happened,
Yes.
And the sense was at that time of how utterly ordinary it is. It was just like, it was this as we're here right now. It seems like and I guess what I'm saying, noticing, it seems there's times when it's just like a tiny degree difference or something. It's just like it's a tiny shift or something. It feels a little bit like when I've listened to some of your guided meditations, and you've mentioned that after open your eyes, come out of the meditation, but don't let it go. Just kind of still notice. And that's kind of what I've noticed. So I'm getting to this noticing thing, but it's like, it just is like, it's not hardly different at all, but yet it is kind of different, and it's just so ordinary. And then sometimes that'll stay for hours. That it's not an altered state. It's not over here. There's no way. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to, and at times it feels like it just kind of merges with the rest of what's going on. But it's a little confusing at times. I guess I don't.
What's the part that gets confusing?
Is this just something I notice? I don't think it's just something I notice with my mind, but afterwards I sort of wonder, well, what is that? Is that? I mean, deep inside, I still trust I know, and so I kind of know. I just know that this just feels right, and I'm not looking to just keep reproducing it or anything else, but it's like. Ordinary living sometimes is, it's not extremely difficult, but it's like it loses some of its juice, some of the things, and so I don't know if that's making any sense.
Well, it makes sense. I still don't get what you want to ask me about it.
What I'm asking is, the noticing to me just seems to be such a subtle noticing.
It is a very subtle noticing. It's extraordinarily simple.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing complex about it. That's why I say it's noticing that which is ridiculously obvious.
Right.
Right? It's a very, very soft thing.
And perhaps it's when my mind starts to get in there and wonder about it, that, which is later. It's not when it's not at those times.
Right.
That perhaps then I'm sort of like wonder, well, am I really on the right track, or is this just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the mind has this amazing capacity. If you think of the mind as, well, you know, like the Buddhists talk about the wheel of samsara. Mm-hmm. It's like something that's just circling, right? It's going in this just mechanical, cyclic, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things it often tries to do is it tries to entice you onto this circle, this cycle. Mm-hmm. And it knows you well, right? Yeah. It knows how to get you on it. It knows what kind of doubts to throw up, what kind of questions, what kind of, judgments, whatever. It knows how to like, come, my boy. You see, if you come on this swirling thing and solve what it thinks that you must solve, everything will be well. Yeah. And as you become more conscious, you also become conscious, or it's necessary to become conscious also of the nature of one's own thinking process, of how it tends to entice you onto it, and have a certain amount of respect for that it knows you so well. You know what I mean? I mean, it's been married to you from before you were born, right? So it knows just what button to push to get you to whoosh, and then you're on it, right? And then you're like, okay, gosh, I'm on this thing, and I am now invested in the dilemma that my mind has created out of nothing. Yeah. And so what do? You can't stop your mind from doing that, can you? No. It just happens, the mind thoughts just boom, they just appear, there they are. But once you become more conscious, and also, as I said, conscious of the nature of your own mind process. Well, you don't get caught in it.
That's what I notice. I mean, I notice, and there's times, sure, I can get caught, and other times I just notice, it's wanting to do this, and either give it its day or just say, just stop. I mean, there's no point, kind of thing. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
But that's it.
Yeah.
I don't have much more.
Right. Well, I do trust. I mean, I guess the bottom line is I tend to just trust and know, when, like just knowing, and when I'm over, this, when these sort of swings happen, which by the way seems to happen, the swings seem to get less and less and less, whereas now the swinging, maybe most of the time, is just like it feels more like that.
Well, this thing for most people, I mean, we all know about the, the debates about whether awakening or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it is like a sudden, once and for all event, or if it's kind of gradual. And the truth is both.
Right.
You usually have a moment if you go, oh, aha, I didn't never notice that before. I'll be darned. And that's often kind of all at once. And then there's often this sort of subtle process of the sort of wearing away of the tendency to deceive oneself.
Right.
That's because that's ultimately all it is. We're deceiving ourselves. And that tendency to swing back and forth from clarity to deception, it tends to get gradually less and less and less and less and less. It's very rarely is that the power of the mind's ability to deceive one broken all at once, forever. Every once in a blue moon. Right. But, don't expect it to be you. Right. And I say that to everybody, And so you just feel that's just the nature of this. It's not just a sort of a one-time, all-or-nothing moment of awakening. Right. The awakening is that which was dormant in you suddenly became conscious. That doesn't mean it's going to stay conscious every moment of every day. Right? Then there's sort of this, for most people, there's a process ensues of you where you become less and less and less prone to these, the mind sort of being able to deceive you again.
Right. If anything, that becomes easier to see.
Yes, much easier to see.
Right.
Right. The more conscious you become, the easier it is to see.
And it's like, so what? If it happens, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't have any real investment in it any longer.
Yeah.
You know, if it catches me for a while, okay, it caught me, you know, kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing, because what gives this cycle of deception its power is basically, one, our indulgence, which is hopping on it, or our rejection. Oh no, that can't happen. That's the secret. If in any moment you feel like you're kind of confused, you know, you've kind of deceived yourself into some sort of little whirlpool, the secret is just let go 100% of trying to get out of it.
Right.
Just, okay, I'm completely, at this moment, completely caught, deceived, lost, deluded, whatever it is, and then I'm just going to completely allow this to be, and oops, where to go? As soon as you give it infinite room to be, it can't go anywhere, can it?
Right.
You have to be either feeding it willfully or resisting it. Either one gives its energy.
Right.
That's sort of the funny thing about samsara, is the way never to be caught in it is to never be resisting it. Funny, you know? Because you'll be in samsara forever. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, samsara will be around you forever. Does that make sense? It's like, you know, you wake up, it's like an alcoholic that wakes up in a universal bar, you know, in a tavern. And they come, oh, okay, I've woken up and I no longer need to drink all this stuff, but gosh, there's a lot of it around, you know? Right? Maybe you don't deceive yourself into thinking you need to drink it all, right? Drink every little deception and every little thought the mind has, whatever. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean that you get out of the tavern, do you? No, you're going to spend the rest of your life in the tavern, right? As a guy like Jesus found out, right? Just because he was the Son of God, you know, it didn't get him out of the tavern of delusion, did it? Or the Buddha, or right? Because if he was outside, who would he be teaching, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when you know, the more I'm just speaking this because, you know, the more we come to just really know what you already know. There's always knowing what you already know in a little fuller way. And when you really come to know what you already know, then you don't get deceived as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And you get on to the workings of illusion. And like I said, as you know, they're very opposite of what we think. We always think, what I don't want, I oppose. But no, in spirituality, what you don't want, you don't oppose. Because if you oppose it, it already has you. So that's why I say, in spirituality, in actual fact, life works very much the opposite of what we've been taught.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice to talk with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad you came up.